Throughout Diablo's history, there has been times where certain builds have been much stronger than others. And today, we're going to be sharing with you the strongest class builds in Diablo 4 so far. These builds are going to be rated based off the level 50 to 100 bracket experience, as well as nightmare dungeons. Starting things off, we got the Whirlwind Barbarian. Okay, now this has got to be one of the most iconic and strong builds in Diablo 4 as of right now. I'd say the strongest thing about this build is that the gameplay is incredibly straightforward and new player friendly. Still, the Barbarian shout abilities, even after all the tuning and nerfs, are incredibly strong and effective for almost every Barbarian build out there. You would go in there and supercharge yourself with Rally, Warcry, and Challenging Shout, and buff yourself with Berserker Rage and go on your way of whirlwinding for as long as you can. This brings you a melee bruiser build that is very fluid and mobile by whirlwinding through enemies, very durable with their constant health regeneration and fortify, and you even have some utility for groups if you use the Grasping Whirlwind legendary aspect to pull enemies in to do some really nice setup combos for your team. It's a very straightforward build that can deal with all types of content, and it is an excellent spot right now, making it one of the best builds in the game as of late. Moving on now to the Twisting Blades Rogue. Ever since launch, Twisting Blades has been the meta for just about every rogue build out there. It brings incredible consistent DPS with the legendary aspect that allows the blades to spin around them. And the enhancement on Twisting Blades that reduces the cooldowns of all your abilities generally just makes it a really strong ability to have just on its own. You could very easily combo this with other abilities to bring your character more utility or movement, like Dash and Shadow Step, and still not skip a beat when it comes to damage. The idea of the build is to Twisting Blades an enemy multiple times, with Shadow Imbuement applied, dash through them, and your super powerful Twisting Blades will follow you, causing enemies to explode, killing everyone and shortening all of your cooldowns in the process, leading to a very fun and satisfying style of play. For group play, you can even run Death Trap to suck in enemies like a vacuum to the center and cause you and your teammates to deal massive area of effect damage to all of them at once, like shooting fish in a barrel. Even though Twisting Blades got nerfed multiple times, it's still the premier rogue build as of right now, and overall Twisting Blades covers all the bases and what you need to be able to push high-level nightmare dungeons. Next up, we have the Werewolf Tornado Druid, a build that came out of absolutely nowhere and is breaking the meta and single-handedly taking Druid to the S tier rankings. Now, to be clear, the build does require a unique and a very specific legendary to even be used, but the gameplay is incredibly user-friendly and very rewarding if you're able to do so. The idea is that you take Grizzly Rage, which normally turns you into a werebear, and acquire the legendary aspect to have it turn you into a werewolf instead. The big kicker is that with enough cooldown reduction in Calm Before the Storm procs, you can make the dire werewolf form permanent. And if you're in werewolf form, your storm skill costs are reduced by up to 50%, giving you the ability to spam tornadoes as much as you want. This build is fantastic for endgame because it brings limitless AoE damage with tornadoes and a ton of self-healing when you kill targets. Pairing this with the Temerity Pants is a match made in heaven for doing just about anything in the Diablo 4 endgame for the Werewolf Tornado Druid. Now, we got the Bone Spirit Necromancer, and this is probably the strongest build this class has to offer as of right now. Bone Spirit has the largest skill damage multiplier to any single skill in Diablo 4 on its own. And if you could focus on getting it to critically strike, the damage from one single Bone Spirit can one-shot most enemies in the game. Now, the area of effect isn't as large as you'd think, but taking an ability like Corpse Tendrils to pull everyone into a tight space, apply vulnerability, and stun them makes for an easy 1-2 punch combo with Bone Spirit to destroy entire groups of enemies. Now, all this sounds great, but it isn't quite easy to pull off, and is most definitely an endgame build. The Bone Spirit Necromancer has a very simple game plan that has complex decision-making and challenges to make you master. But once you understand the flow of the build and how everything works, those one-shot Bone Spirit combos make it all worth it. I mean, look at those numbers. Who doesn't want to be hitting that hard all in one shot? Oh yeah, this guy. The Lash Sorcerer. This build dishes out incredibly high damage overall, but how does it do it? By spamming an ability you unlock at level 2 called Lash. Spamming Lash with Unstable Currents active sends out additional shock skills at random every time you cast it, resulting in what feels like dozens of abilities going off every second, and pairing that with the Ball Lightning enhancement, which makes your critical strikes have a chance to spawn a Ball Lightning, you have a multitude of attacks coming from different directions all at once. Now, it is a melee sorcerer build, which is quite odd, of course, but to make up for it, you're taking all 4 defensive skills for the sorcerer, and with proper usage, you should be damn near unkillable. Your cooldown reduction gets to the point where it's so fast that you're spamming your defensives and basic arc lashes as much as you can to have near infinite abilities being shot out and gaining absorbed shields constantly with their protection passive. The best part about it is that the more enemies you're engaged with, the better the build actually performs. So get out there, smash those defensives, and perform that shocking one-button rotation. And speaking of simple rotations, we have the Pulverize Druid. And this build combines massive AoE damage with incredible defensive capabilities. It has a very simple playstyle that can bring you far into the endgame with Nightmare Dungeons, and is an excellent choice for any player out there. By using Pulverize as your main source of damage with the legendary Shockwave aspect, it shoots out a cone in front of you that deals very solid damage. By also running the Earthen Might key passive, it can allow you to spam Pulverize with guaranteed critical strikes to really be able to handle just about any situation out there. On top of that, you have Grizzly Rage, Earthen Bulwark, and Trample to give you Unstoppable, pretty much making you immune to crowd control and giving you full Fortify in almost every situation you're in. The best part about it is that there's only one legendary aspect for this build that can't be found in the Codex of Power, meaning that it only takes one item drop to truly come into its own. The Pulverized Druid does incredible damage, is very tanky, and is super straightforward to play, making it a perfect candidate for a meta build in Diablo 4. Another straightforward build that does incredible damage is going to be the Bone Spear Necromancer build. One of its greatest assets is that it makes all enemies hit by Bone Spear vulnerable, amplifying your damage to everyone hit significantly. And with a couple resource aspects on your rings to keep up your essence, you have a build that's able to shoot out endless Bone Spears, dealing great consistent DPS to all enemies hit. Now, the Necromancer does lack mobility, of course, but you surely make up for it with survivability with Blood Mist and the damage reduction from Bone Storm, making you much tankier. On top of it, to kite enemies, you have Bone Prison paired with Corpse Tendrils to keep enemies locked down in an area to toss out your Bone Spears infinitely, making it very easy to line up your Bone Spear projectile. All in all, the Bone Spear Necromancer does incredible damage while having nearly endless essence for a consistent DPS class that's very straightforward and effective. And for our final build of the day, we have the Hammer of the Ancients Barbarian. Now, Hammer of the Ancients doesn't have a large area of effect, yes, but you can instantly solve that problem with the Ancestral Force aspect that you could find in your Codex of Power. And this ability does tremendous AoE damage for a relatively cheap cost of Fury. The biggest issue for this build is Fury generation, but once you solve that, this build can clear anything in the game. Like usual for Barbarians, you take Lunging Strike to give you some mobility and position you properly, and load up on all 3 shouts you possibly can to buff you as much as possible with great Fury generation, movement speed, and damage multipliers. Combining all this with Wrath of Berserker gives you a massive Hammer of the Ancients window that can pretty much wipe your screen clean no matter where your hammer lands. The Hammer of the Ancients Barbarian is a very strong melee build that controls the battlefield and is very user-friendly for beginners, making it a perfect choice if you're a straightforward type of player. Now, as you can see in Diablo 4, there are some pretty substantial builds that seem to do some incredible damage. So the real question is, what do you think is the best build in Diablo 4 as of right now? Let us know in the comment section below, as we would love to talk with you all. We also want to take a moment to shout out our channel members over here on YouTube, because you are all the #1 supporters of the Comeback Kids, and we absolutely couldn't keep this channel going without you all. The giveaway for our channel members this month is going to be the brand new Razer Black Widow Pro keyboard, worth over $230. So if you all are interested in earning exclusive rewards for the Comeback Kids, as well as being given the opportunity to giveaways constantly, click that join button below or follow the link in the description to become an official Comeback Kid today. I want to thank you all so much for watching this video. It's an absolute pleasure to be making content for you all. Until the very end, my name is Sky from the Comeback Kids. I will see you all in the next one. Peace!